All right. Good evening to my fellow board members, staff, and members of the audience. My name is Janet Hanson. I am this year's chair of the board, and I'm calling the November 5th meeting of the board, Historic Site Preservation Board, to order at 5:32 p.m. That's my gavel. Sarah, may we please have the roll call?
Yes. Chair Hansen,
Oh, present.
Vice Chair Bachman,
Here.
Member Hare, Member Maruzzi, and Member Mashka Hitchcock has notified us of their absence. Member McCready? Member McCready?
Oh, yes, here.
And Member Panessa?
Here.
Perfect. And if you can remember to go ahead and use your button in front to turn on your mic when you are speaking, and then turning it off when you are not speaking. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have the staff report on the posting of the agenda?
Yes, the agenda for this meeting was posted for public review at the City Hall Bulletin Board on the west side of City Council chambers and at the Planning Department's counter in accordance with the city's policies.
Okay, does the board have any additions or revisions to the agenda, including requests to remove items on the consent calendar for further discussions? Although, not sure we have any today. No revisions? Okay, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion by Board Member Payanessa and seconded by Board Member Bachman. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes 4-0 with 3 absentees. Moving on to public comment, this time has been set aside for members of the public to address the Historic Site Preservation Board on agenda items and items of general interest within the subject matter of the board. Although the board values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it can generally not take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda. There will be 3 minutes assigned to each speaker, and testimony for public hearings will be taken later in the meeting during the public hearings. Staff, has anyone requested to comment?
Looks like we have one member of the public who would like to comment.
Blank, but I can fill it in for you.
If you can go ahead and state your name for the record.
Yes, hello.
And you have 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Does it?
My name's Brian Birch. I live on South Indian Trail, which is on tonight's agenda. And I am very unfamiliar with this process, and I'm here mostly to listen. But I did want to underscore that this is a unique property, as I'm sure you're very well aware. And as a member of the neighborhood who looks at it constantly and sees it, I want to respect the way it looks currently and would hate to see it change radically or even tremendously. Thank you.
Okay. Can you just correct or advise me on whether it should be 3 or 2 minutes? I believe it is 3.
I believe it's 3 minutes.
Okay, so I think if the forms say 2, probably want to make that correction.
We'll make
for the
note of
next
that.
meeting.
Thank you.
Okay. No, of course not. I just want to make sure that we give people ample time if it should be 3 minutes and someone wanted to speak. We generally don't comment on the public comment, and we will be hearing this item later in the meeting where you will hear board member comments. Are we ready, Sarah, to close the public comment?
We did want to put into the record, we did receive one other public comment item that was disseminated to the HSPB board via email. This was in regards to recent changes to the fees. On this, staff would like to note that the appropriate office will respond to that letter since it's not a topic that is within the HSPB or the board's purview.
Okay, so I'm assuming you've all received that letter via email. Okay, we will now close public comment and proceed to the next item on the agenda, which is the consent calendar. We have one item, which is approval of the minutes from the October meeting. Does anyone wish to comment on the draft minutes of October 7th? No one? I actually had a correction, Sarah, but I don't see my minutes with, oh, here we go. I had a correction to page 3, under new business, item 4, board member reports, requests, and comments. It was a comment that I made, and it said that I stated that federal grants are available. I said that they are not available. Want to make sure that is reflected correctly in the minutes. Okay, may I have a motion to approve the October minutes on the consent calendar?
So moved.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Board Member McCready and a second by Board Member Bachman. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes 4-0. We don't have any public hearings tonight or any unfinished business, so we will be moving on to new business. We have a request by the owners of James Bass and Michael Turchin, represented by architect Anthony Stark, requested approval for major alterations to a Class 3 site at 608 Indian Trail, South Indian Trail, case number HDEMO 2025-0008. Staff, do we have a report, please?
All right, give us just one moment as we get the report, the presentation up.
Magic.
All right. So this is case number HDEMO 2025-0008. It's a request for major alteration to the residence at 608 South Indian Trail, which is a property that was identified as a Class 3 site. This home is located in a residential area in the Warm Sands neighborhood. As seen in the aerial map, the home is contained on a single parcel that is roughly 15,000 square feet, and the existing home is around 3,800 square feet in size. This is the view of the home as seen from South Indian Trail. There is a stone wall that surrounds the perimeter of the property, and the home is designed in a Spanish colonial revival style of architecture. Based on some of the preliminary information that was submitted, the home is believed to be designed by the architecture firm Brewster and Benedict for an artist by the name of Hal Forrest, completed in 1937. One of the unique features that we do see here, just from the massing, is that there are two-story portions of the home that are located on either end of the main entrance and living area. The owners are proposing modifications to the home that include expansions impacting the north and west elevations. They are also proposing to enclose a portion of the rear of the home, and they are proposing to construct a few detached additions to be located on the site. The proposed work does trigger what we would define as a major alteration in accordance to the definitions found in the municipal code, which does subject the property to HSPB review. When the proposed changes are considered major, the ordinance requires that the board examine the site to take a closer look at the site and see if it does appear to have enough qualities to be reclassified as a historic site by reviewing the preliminary historic research that has been submitted. This process also takes into account the existing integrity observed during the site visit. As part of this review process, HSPB will use the criteria used to review the designation process and see if the property at 608 South Indian Trail has the potential to meet the listed criteria for exceptional historical significance. Based on some of the information that was found on the home, and that was included in our submittal material, it appears that the home is associated with a well-known figure from the period known as the Golden Age of Hollywood, and the design of the home appears to exemplify in an intact format the Spanish colonial revival style of architecture from the 1930s in Palm Springs. Lastly, there are records indicating that the designers for the home are in fact Brewster and Benedict. That information was included in your packet. This was a firm that was well known and associated with many works in Palm Springs, such as the Walter Kirshner Residence and the Pacific Building that you see at North Palm Canyon Drive. When it comes to integrity of the site, enough integrity in the various categories must be present to clearly demonstrate its historical significance. It appears that in the case of 608 South Indian Trail, it does seem that there is much of the integrity listed in these categories to be extant or present on the site. Going back to the review process and what the decisions that are available to the board is not reviewing the application for design at this time. Based on the information that's provided, the board is reviewing the site to decide if it does appear to possess potential for reclassification as a historically designated site. If the board finds that it appears to meet these necessary criteria for reclassification, they may recommend a stay on the proposed project to initiate the designation proceedings for designation of the site. The stay would be for 120 days, where the city would commission a historic resources report on the property and bring it back to the board and then to city council to move forward with a reclassification of the site if that report does find that this site meets the criteria for designation. If the board finds that the site does not appear to meet the criteria for exceptional historic significance, they may choose to take no further action and allow the applicant to continue their plans for major alteration. So with that, and based on the presented materials from the application and the site visit, staff finds that this property has the potential to be reclassified as a historic Class 1 site, therefore recommends that the HSPB stay the action and initiate the designation proceedings. To be clear, the applicant is not seeking historic designation at this time, but staff recommends to stay because 608 South Indian Trail appears to have important historic significance that should be confirmed. I believe that the applicant team is also joining us virtually if you have any additional questions, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have regarding the staff recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you for that detailed staff report. Does the board have any questions for staff at this time?
I do. Thank you. So I guess my first question is, at least in my short tenure on this board, this is the first property where the owner has not supported the classification like this. So can you kind of at least educate me on what are the implications of that, of us recommending that when the owner is not supporting it?
So at this time, the only thing that we can clearly state is that the owner has not submitted an application for designation. They have not stated that they don't support an action for designation. The application before you all today is that this was what triggered their review before you. So In terms of their actual position on support for designation or not, that has not been finally confirmed. This is just going through the review process where if a major alteration is being proposed, then that's the moment where that application needs to come before the board to analyze the potential for historic designation.
Okay, so we don't know whether they support it or not.
And I believe we have the applicant team on virtually, so maybe that is a question that you can point to them. But
Okay.
at this time, it's not an application requesting designation.
Okay, and this is all triggered because it's already got a Class 3.
Correct. So the municipal code states that any Class 3 site that has, that triggers the major alteration clause, first requires that application to come before the board to be reviewed before they can move any further.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other board members? Questions? Sarah, should we maybe open it for the applicant? If Board Member Payanessa wanted to address your question directly to their representatives?
I think they are on. I think we have initiated the ability to speak. Is the applicant on Zoom? You can go ahead and state your name. Like there's some issues with the unmute button on that side. It looks like we have some issues with getting the function to unmute. So they may just be listening.
Should we maybe see if there's any discussion amongst the board members? And you can see if you can work that out? Okay.
Sarah, I have a question about your recommendation that we stay the request. If no request comes from the owners to reclassify or to have it to apply for historic district status, what happens then to the request for alteration? Does it just sit there and die? Or is there a time frame for action or what?
So if I'm understanding your question correctly, if there's no action taken place, then what happens to the proposal on file? Is that what
If the owners don't request historic designation,
So the process that we're embarking is that we would initiate the designation process.
Property owner doesn't have to initiate it.
Correct.
Right, anybody can initiate a designation. Anyone else? Any discussion amongst ourselves? I think we're all,
I guess amongst ourselves, and I would love to be able to ask them what their position is. Just, I don't want to imply that I would be against reclassifying it. However, I think that's a pretty serious move on our part if they're not supporting it. It doesn't mean it doesn't qualify it, in my opinion, but you know, I would be hesitant to reclassify it without getting some feedback from the owner.
well, I think, this is just sort of stage one of a longer process. The report would be done, and then there would be a public hearing for the actual designation. But we're here solely to make a determination at this point whether we think that the property merits enough additional consideration to go forward with a stay of demolition in preparation of a report. And then at that point, the consultant will be doing a more detailed report, and what would come back before us is an analysis of whether or not it meets the criteria. So it's not so much, it's more about deciding that the report has made a case that it meets the criteria for designation and not as much of, well, do we really want to do this or not? It's sort of, that's what our responsibility is as a board.
And it sounds like in either scenario, there is kind of almost a waiting period, while the analysis is done of the property.
Yes.
And as you all know, the designation process is a two-step process. And so what this would, if there's a stay, we would need a commissioner report, and then that report comes back to the board. And so there's that opportunity to provide public comment at that time, and that is a publicly noticed hearing. And the applicant would most certainly have the ability to present their position during that time as well.
Right.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Sarah, how are we doing over there?
Yeah, no, it looks like we're not going to be able to communicate with them through
Okay.
the Zoom process.
Okay. But there will be obviously additional opportunities as part of a public hearing for the applicant and/or representative to state their opinion when the information comes back to us within 120 days. All right, so if we don't have any further discussion and no speakers on this item and no Zoom speakers, may I have a motion, please?
So I'll make a motion if I understand this. So I would make a motion to stay the request. I think it's pending a study. Is that,
Do you want to read the actual staff recommendation?
I think we have it here.
It's on the report, yeah.
Yeah, to stay the request for alterations for a period of 120 days and authorize the processing of a designation application to consider whether the building qualifies for a designation of a Class 1 or Class 2 historic resource pursuant to the CEQA, to CEQA.
I don't think that's pursuant to CEQA.
That's just what it says here, but
Okay, might be in a different part of the staff report. Okay, do we have a second?
I second.
All right, then we have a motion by Board Member Payanesa and a second by Board Member McCready. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor?
aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion passes 4-0. Good?
Yes.
Moving on to reports, requests, and comments. This is the time for board member comments. Are there any brief general comments or issues of concern from members of the Historic Site Preservation Board? I just had one thing that I was going to mention, that on this Friday, the State Historical Resources Commission has their quarterly meeting, and the Plaza Theater is on the agenda, if anyone is interested. If you go to the State Historic Preservation website, under the commission, there's instructions for how to log in and watch the meeting on C-SPAN. So if you're interested in that, you can also comment on it if you had any comments from the public. But so the National Register nomination will be heard, which is pretty exciting. I think it's part of their long-term plan to preserve the building, was to also have the building listed. And I think they're going to get maybe some tax rehabilitation credits. I'm not positive about that. But all right, does staff have any comments?
The only comment that I have, I know that the board had requested an update on the Santa Rosa project. And so I just have a quick update on that. The Santa Rosa project that the board did see months ago was heard for the second time by the ARC this past week, and the project was denied. The proposal was denied, and so I don't have any further updates outside of the results that were from that meeting. So outside of that, I don't have any other staff comments.
Did you, or were you going to do that outside of this meeting, just see about attendance for the December meeting, or you're good with doing that? Okay.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and send a separate email for confirming attendance.
All right, so that's it for you? Okay, well, I'm trying to figure out if this is the shortest meeting we've ever had, but we're moving on to adjournment. Adjournment, the Historic Site Preservation Board will adjourn to its regularly scheduled meeting on Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025, at 5:30 PM. And we will be meeting again in the large conference room at City Hall, 3200 Tockwitz Canyon Way. And we will see you all then, and have a good Thanksgiving. Meeting adjourned.